your linebackers coming out here this fall. What was your message to them coming out for the first day, and what you want to see these few weeks?
Well, first and foremost, I just want them to come back with a mindset to prepare like they're a freshman again. To pay attention to the small details, so that we can be prepared when we get on the field, be able to be good leaders, be able to communicate, with the front half and the back half. Fortunately enough, we got a pretty veteran group. We got some guys that play a lot of football, so they understand what it takes. They understand not only what it takes before we get on the field, but what it takes when we get on the field. So we just keep pushing them. We'll have fun. We'll make it fun with them. They're going to obviously compete. There's guys that are trying to create roles for themselves. There's guys, that have, like I said, played a lot of football already for us on game day. So just got to keep pushing ahead.
For that core of 4 guys, what you find one thing each guy can, to really push for the next couple weeks, or how do you make sure those guys are getting better here?
Yeah, no question. We got our goals as a group, the things that we want to get better at fundamentally, and then individually, you give them two things that they want to choose from to get better for themselves, whether it be their keys, whether it be their footwork, coverage progression, whatever the case may be. Everybody's different. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, so we try to focus on what we need to do as a group, and obviously as individuals.
What are the keys as a group? Where do you guys feel like you need to get better as a group?
First and foremost, we want to continue to get better at our movements. We've got to be able to get ourselves in positions to execute our jobs, and then obviously be great with our hands, getting off blocks to be able to make plays. And then we want to just keep working at the coverage game as well, and being better in coverage and being better in the underneath zones, being better playing some man. For the most part here in the next week or so, we're going to focus on those things.
When you look at a couple guys individually, I guess Tanner, with what he did last year, the MVP awards in some of those games, 100 tackles. What do you tell him? What do you want to see him take that next step?
Well, he knows. He's got plenty of things himself that he knows and that he wants to get better on. He's pretty self-motivated, and obviously I'll work with him on things that he needs to get better at. But he's played a lot of football, but he's still young, not redshirting and getting in there early as a freshman and stuff. And so I think one thing you guys will see when you do get out there and get a chance to see not only him, but a lot of these other guys, they've had a great summer. They look great. They're moving around great. And that was one big thing coming from the spring, going into fall is, okay, fellas, let's see how much we can develop ourselves, as athletes, as football players. And from what I've seen so far, we haven't stepped on that field, but it looks like they did. Them and Coach Pittman did a really good job.
What's the number one thing maybe that you like about Tanner, or the biggest thing that he brings to that linebacking group?
Well, I think that mentality. He's a physical football player. He studies the game. He gets it. He understands it. And, I guess the best way to say it is when he steps on the field, he flips that switch.
You guys have, rotated so many guys through those spots, but by the end of last year, he and Ben were playing so well, you didn't want to take them off the field. Mm-hmm. You've got that great depth. Is it going to be difficult to kind of balance you've got these guys that are so productive, but
right.
You want to get all those guys involved?
Right, no question. And us as coaches, that's our job, to get guys to develop, to do a good job so that they can have roles and, they have a place in what they do. And there's no doubt about it. At the end of the day, we talk about it, just focus on doing your job and doing the best you can. And the beautiful thing about our position is we're deep, and so there's no question that we should be going 110%. There should be guys out there moving at a different speed than everybody else, because we got plenty of guys that go on the field. If we get tired, we could rotate in. But hey, at the same time, if someone's hot and they're in the zone and they're making plays left and right, then everybody knows the deal. That guy's probably going to roll a little bit more than the other guy, whoever it is.
Things changed for Ben a little bit late last season and then through the spring, and you got him rolling now a little bit with some confidence and feeling good with his body.
Yeah, no question. One thing that a lot of people may or may not know, Ben Weaver didn't do anything all last season because he was coming off an injury. He really didn't jump anything into training and developing himself, or trying to get back in shape, let's say. He didn't even get to the point where he was developing himself all last year. So I think you guys will see, and he's made huge strides with his development individually as a football player, and so we're excited about that. He's picked up where he's left off last season.
With a guy like Joe Martirano, we saw last year he ended up starting towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. What's kind of the ceiling for him, the next step he can take this year?
With Joe, first Joe goes and plays baseball, and he comes back, and for being away, he's in really good shape. Joe did a great job of not only playing some baseball and swinging the bat better this year, and he had fun down there and doing all that, but he took care of business because he came back and he wants to be a part of it. He wants a role, and Joe's going to earn himself a role, and Joe's going to play. Joe does a lot of good things, and just for Joe to just continue to progress in the defense and understanding, as a Mike linebacker, how to run the show, and how to do his job.
You know, a lot of guys get a summer break, and he really doesn't. He said that he kind of was able to stay in contact with you at times, and how dedicated, I guess, was he towards to football while still chasing a professional baseball career? Because it sounded like he was.
Yeah, he did. We communicated and stuff, and you know, he was a guy that wanted to study film. We had the ability to watch it online and whatnot with our guys, and so he watched stuff on his huddle account, so he did a great job with that. And you know, like I said, I mean, the guy comes back and runs 16 decks in his first week back, and I mean, shoot, you're dying to run 16. You've been here all summer, and so that tells you right there, you know, the kind of shape he kept himself in. He did, obviously, baseball training was a little bit different than football training. Nothing against it or anything, but it's just different. But Joe did the extra things he needed to do. You know, when we talked to him about those things, hey, you're not trying to be great at one thing right now. You're trying to be great at two sports, baseball and football, and that puts a little bit more on your plate. You got to understand what you're getting yourself into, and if you handle that right, you'll be fine. And so far, I think he has.
So we talked a lot about.
You kind of, I don't want to say it jest or whatever, but there is a difference between baseball training and football training. He said that he went out and found an own gym, a gym by himself that could tailor his football workouts to.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you could talk about maybe the reason behind that, trying to stay, you know, at bulk, I guess he was talking about.
Well, I mean, from the standpoint of the explosiveness in football, probably the weight that football players move around is a little bit more in baseball. You know, I've never been in baseball training, but just physically the sport's different. So he's got to train his body, and that was our big thing. Is when he got back here physically, we wanted him to be in shape so that he could play this sport. You know, and he came back a few weeks early to jump back in the weight room and jump in with the guys and you know, have a few weeks to make sure he was at a point where, you know, he's ready to go football-wise.
Marcel came out yesterday and kind of tried to squash the idea of this is going to be a great defense and everybody's assuming this is going to be great. Have you guys had that message with the players a little bit, hey, don't get complacent yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. We all know. I mean, we haven't even stepped on the field yet. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a ton of work to do. Is the potential there? Yes. Do we have good football players? Yes. Smart guys? No doubt. Guys that love to play the game, the guys that play with swagger and got a passion for the game, there's no question. But we all know there's a lot of work to be done, you know, and all that matters is each individual day, you know, each individual period, each individual rep in that period, you know. So those little things that turn into big things, and that's all we got to focus on right now.
Who are some of the younger guys you're anxious to see the next step they've made, and just some guys, you know, that we haven't talked about yet?
You know, well, shoot, for us at our position, you know, Leighton Vander Esch is a guy that came out of spring that made huge strides. Had a great summer. Shoot, he's about as athletic for a guy with his length and size. You know, he's put on 15 pounds and moves better than he did in the springtime, so we're excited about him to see him get on the field and, you know, have a huge role in some special teams and whatnot and find his place on defense. And then obviously we got a bunch of freshmen that we've been recruiting, that we've been talking to, that are finally here now that we get to see them on the field, you know, and get them rolling as well.
You guys put Leighton on scholarship in the spring. What did you see out of him that convinced you he deserved that?
You know, first and foremost, I mean, he's a kid that loves the game. He's smart. He picks things up. Coming from a guy that played 8-man football, you know, jumping in and doing what he's doing here, he's accelerated a lot. And to be quite honest with you, when we recruited him, we knew there aren't too many diamonds in the rough anymore, just with the internet recruiting and huddle and all that stuff. But we found one there, and I mean, we think, you know, he's got obviously a lot of work to do, but I mean, it's hard to find those guys with that length, that size, that move the way he does, and, you know, has some instinct and knowledge of the game.
When you turn back to that kind of experience, when you return as much as you do, does it allow you to approach fall camp a little differently at all? And can you tell there's maybe more continuity between this group than maybe last year when they were younger?
Yeah, there's no question. I think you can. You could push the envelope a little bit more. You could go into more detail. But I think you got to still, you know, we still got guys, young guys in the room that have never done this before. So it's, you know, you got to address the young guys that are still learning the language that we speak in our defense to the guys that, you know, hey, they need to start learning these little details about the offense and how that affects the technique they got to play and whatnot. So it's a combination, but like I told the older guys too that have returned and played a lot of football for us, when I'm talking to, or when we're talking to the young guys, whatever, it might be Coach Yates, it might be Tommy Smith, the graduate assistant, you guys got to take that and you got to listen to it like it's your first day too, because there might be a little small detail that could help you as well.